You're putting in the hours, you're sweating it out day by day, but when it comes to game day and your performances, you're just not seeing the results. What the hell is going on? Well, in this video, I'm going to outline 7 reasons as to why you're not seeing results in your performances, even though you're training your heart out. And I'm actually going to show you how you can train less hours and see better results. And how do I know this? Well, because I've done it myself. As a professional athlete, I used to pride myself on my training ethic, the fact that I could turn up day in, day out and work hard. But then I found myself getting frustrated when it came to game day that I just wasn't seeing the results. But here's the good news. Once I started to implement some of these changes, everything changed. I was able to drastically reduce the amount of hours I was training and massively increase the results that I was getting. I was actually able to see myself recovering more, spending more time relaxing, and then I actually saw my performances get better. But welcome back to the channel. I'm Hatchett, mindset mental performance coach for athletes, also a former professional athlete in the great English sport of cricket, a master's student in performance psychology at Bangor University, the host of the Raising Your Game podcast, and the creator of the MindStrong sport app. Be sure to subscribe to this channel by clicking the button below. If you don't want to miss a video when it gets released, hit the bell as well. All right, so I want you to think about if you were to be running a marathon and you set yourself a target of running 10 miles every day. You're putting in some serious work, but you're maybe not working smart enough. And this comes up to the first reason as to why you're not seeing performance results. You're training hard, but not smart. And so with this marathon, if you're just running 10 miles every day, that is a lot of work, but you are missing out on some crucial components. You're missing out on your easy runs, your interval sessions, and maybe your recovery sessions along the way. The same applies to all different sports. It is important that we work hard, but we also have a smart approach that helps us maximize all of this potential. So you want to focus on the quality of your training, not necessarily just the quantity. We want to train in the right areas. And by that, I mean not just focusing on the areas that you're weak and you need to improve on, maximize your strengths at the same time. Be really specific and detailed about your training and what you're doing with your training, and then allow that to translate directly from your training into competition. So when you've got quality focus, quality goals, you'll start to get quality outcomes. And that moves us on to reason number 2, which is inconsistency. Consistency in sport is absolutely key. And Michael Phelps, famous swimmer, once said that he never missed a training session for an entire 5 years. Now, whether that's entirely true or not, the point stands that in order to be an elite level performer, you have to be consistent. And so this also isn't about just working hard occasionally, or nor even just working hard every day. It's about consistently showing up to the things that are going to work towards your goals. So even hard work could be turning up to a recovery session and not missing it and being inconsistent in that behavior. And alongside it, setting realistic expectations of the outcomes along the way, to know that you're not always guaranteed to get results by just putting in a little bit of work and then something's going to happen. It's about the continuous process of slowly chipping away, stacking days, day in, day out, that eventually starts to bring those goals, those outcomes and performances. And it's being consistent in all of that that you'll start to see changes. Turning pro or achieving high level peak performance is all about repetition and sacrifice. You can't just train for a few weeks and then slack off when life gets busy. You have to find ways to be consistent. And that moves us on to number 3, is that you have poor habits around your training. So you might be doing all the hard work, you might be doing absolutely everything right, but the habits that sit around it are not maximizing the potential of everything you're putting in. Think of it like you're baking a cake, but then you actually just forget to add sugar. Now, yes, at the end you've got a cake, but is it the best cake that it could be in how it tastes and how it feels? Probably not. There's a big ingredient missing. So for you, it's that you could be putting all of the ingredients into what you think is going to get you performance, but you could be missing one key ingredient that will really turn it into something good. This is where your nutrition, your sleep, your rest periods, maybe it's meditation, your mental skills, everything that is habitual around it. So consider everything that you might need to add into your life that is going to support the hard work that you're doing, and make sure that you're focusing on building good habits around it. All right, moving on to number 4 is lack of structure. Think of your athletic journey as if you're building a house. You don't just turn up with all the tools and the materials and then think, I'm just going to build this house and it's going to be fine. You have to build a plan. You have to build out what is it you're going to build first, what's next, how are you going to build the next room, the next floor, everything after that. And your athletic journey is no different. Your performances are no different. You have to have structure in how you think you're going to get to that performance. So developing a clear plan involves developing both the long-term and the short-term plans. You want to look at how you're going to measure the progress along the way. How do you know that you're actually getting towards a better outcome, a better performance that ultimately you want to do? And then finally, you're looking at stacking the skills that you're going to need in order to get to that performance. You're not looking at trying to do the advanced stuff first. You're actually going for what is it that's going to be the first thing that I need to do and then build on top of that. This leads us into number 5, that you have a lack of fundamentals. If we look at the house analogy, this is about building the foundations. You don't build a house on foundations made of cardboard. You build strong, solid cement foundations so that when pressure comes on and when the moment hits, you have a strong base of fundamentals that you can lean back on, that everything is built upon. So building your foundations focuses on finding out what your fundamental technical and tactical skills are that your sport requires. What is it that you may physically need as a fundamental skill, and start improving and building that. Make sure they're really strong before you start adding the advanced stuff onto it, rather than starting on the advanced stuff and having shaky foundations without having any strong, solid basics to fall back on. This way you do what I would call raising your floor rather than shooting for your ceiling, because as you raise your floor and when the pressure hits, you fall back to a much higher level of performance, and you're still capable even when the pressure hits and you're in clutch moments in a game, and you can still execute high level performance. Look at someone like Michael Jordan. In his period where he left the NBA and went to baseball to then only come back to the NBA, he was able to fall back on huge levels of fundamentals and basics that he had built, and he had at such a high level that allowed him to unlock peak performance when he returned after a long period away from the game. Moving on to number 6 is that you have a lack of autonomy. Ultimately, you may have become too reliant on your coaches, your teammates, those around you to guide you and give you the answers. You need to build autonomy as an athlete so that you can take full control of your ship, because it's ultimately your career, your performances, and when you're the one out in the middle making decisions, it is all on you. And if you have been given the answers by someone else, you haven't really learnt it. You've just followed instructions thinking, this is what I need to do to get to the performance that I think I should be doing. So to build that autonomy, you want to get curious. You want to become a student of your game, understand your game, find that you need to let go of perfection. You want to embrace mistakes, find out how you're going to overcome some of the challenges that you're undoubtedly going to face. And that will ultimately allow you to build a library of solutions that you can come up with when you're faced with these challenges, because you know what you've done and how you've overcome them. You can then build yourself more trust in your decision making as an athlete. So when you go out in the field, you're met with a challenge, you are unsure what to do, but because you've solved it yourself in training and you've figured out the way, you know what to do, rather than a coach telling you what to do or someone else telling you what to do and you just following that instructions but not really knowing how or what you're doing. And finally, number 7, you are neglecting your mental training. Ultimately, athletes that neglect the mental side of the game, they fall into problems where they feel things like performance anxiety, a lack of emotional control, fear of failure, maybe a lack of confidence, whether it's in their skills, themselves, and the performance that they're in. And ultimately, no matter the amount of work that you're doing, if you're neglecting that mental side of the game, you can't let all of that work shine, because there are so many blocks in the way when it comes to your mental performance. You'll become clouded in your judgment, your decision making, and you'll be unsure, and that can massively affect your performances. It's now becoming common knowledge that some of the best athletes in the world are focusing on their mental game to maximize all of the training that they're doing so that they can unlock this huge level of performance. And it could be one of the things that is actually blocking you from unleashing all of this work that you're doing, which is great work, but you're just at the very last minute getting these mental blocks that just stop it from shining. And so that's where investing in your mental game comes in. Now, you can do this with a professional, you can do it with a psychologist, a mental performance coach like myself. While that has huge benefits, it can be quite costly, which is why we started the MindStrong Sport app, which you can access via the iOS and Android stores to download today, where you can access meditations, mindset courses, mind boosts, mental exercises, and so much more to make sure that you are building your mental strength on and off the field. If you want to download the app, then head to the link in the description of this video right now. All right, there you have it. There are 7 reasons as to why you may not be performing at your best in your performances, even though you're training is all there. So hopefully if you start to implement these, you will see things change straight away. Maybe there's something I missed and maybe something that you've added in or one that you've been neglecting. Let us know in the comments, inspire others in the comments, let them know. I'd love to hear from you, but there may also be a reason why you're not performing, and that could be down to your lack of confidence. And if you want to build that, then you're going to want to watch this video next.